Just a quick explanation. Obviously, Big Bummit is a bit different to Baby Bummit, principally because you are actually hitching overnight. Baby Bummit's all through the day, and it's only one day, so it's not particularly long at all. With Big Bummit, what you'll find is, I don't know what your sort of preconceptions are about it, but actually you can travel through the night. Throughout Europe, there are quite a lot of people who, for example, who transport cars from one side of Europe to the other for money, and they'll be driving pretty much constantly, and they're quite good to get lifts with through the night. Obviously, a lot of truckers also on tight deadlines will be going through the night as well. So if you want to go through the night, that's absolutely fine. It depends, but often you may get to a nice city and may think, we'll bed down and we'll get up early tomorrow. But just say that obviously it's a slightly different ball game, but it's still the same concept, and it's even more fun.
Hi. Well, illustrated by our last little jaunt around this country area, sometimes when you're in Bummit you can find yourself in really rural and country areas. Now the rule of this is basically you want to avoid it, stick to the motorways. If you find yourself on an A road or even go for a bit of B road, then you're in a bit of trouble, but there are ways to get out of this. First obviously you can obviously just wait. Well, what we illustrate here by being in this area is that when hitchhiking, country areas and very rural areas, which with sparse people can be very difficult, especially when you get out to Central and Eastern Europe. Poland especially is quite sparse in population in comparison to more developed countries in the western side of the continent. Essentially when you're travelling you want to stick to more established, bigger routes via motorways or A-roads. When I say motorways, not on the motorways themselves, but obviously archipelagoing it from petrol station to petrol stations from the more established routes. But there are ways to avoid being stuck in areas like this. For example, the first one is waiting for a particularly long period of time, because inevitably someone will take pity on you. So you might be able to ask in a local shop or wait around in a petrol station or something like that. Someone will be a good soul and just drop you off in the next kind of petrol station or service way in a more bigger area. And the worst comes to worst, you can always take the bus or the train, and a lot of times, using lack of English or some ignorance, someone will just let you on for free. So there are ways to get out of it. So when you're stuck, don't panic, just relax, think about it logically, and remember our advice. Well, as Jamie already mentioned, there's always a possibility of hitchhiking and travelling overnight, which is always very possible, especially using late night trains, trucks obviously being an example. But when it comes down to bedding down for the night, there are different options you can take which have been well established over various Bummits over various years. Number one being take a hostel. Usually somewhere between 15 to 25 euros a night, which is very reasonable. And considering we're only out there for a few days, it is possible to stay in a hostel every night. Option two is kip over in a train station, like what's happened in years past in Dresden, Hauptbahnhof or Villach in south of Austria, when about 40 to 50 Bummiteers were stuck in the same place and all kipped up in sleeping bags over the night. Option three, sleep at rough. People do bring tents and sleeping bags, so you can park up in a bit of greenage outside of a city centre or on a roundabout even, not recommended obviously, but these are always options you can take. And fourth, which is by no means guaranteed but always a lucky one, is that by chatting to a local or being given a lift by someone to their hometown, you might either be let to stay in the house for the night, which means you have to be absolutely and completely polite to the people, and the other option, which I've only heard of on a few occasions, is when you get put up in a hotel by a particularly generous hitchhiker or lifter obviously. So that's what you can do when you're stuck in a city overnight.
So as you all know, Bummit takes place over quite a few days, about a week really. And what you'll find is that when you're hitching, your mood will completely cycle. You'll probably go up and down, throughout different areas of fortune and misfortune, and everyone will probably have different mood cycles in your group. This is where groups of three can be quite good, because it means that if someone's having a bit of a hard time, everyone can rally round. And groups of two are great for hitching, but also a little bit more intense, shall we say, depending on who's in them. One of the reasons you may be feeling a little bit down may be, for example, the language barrier. This is obviously always going to be an issue. The ways we try and get around it are, we do give you the Bummit Bible, and in that we've got a sort of paragraph of translated material which basically says this person's from Bummit, they're doing a hitchhike for charity, please help them get to their destination. We're raising money for all these fantastic charities, including a few local ones, and that's translated into all the languages of the countries that you will be going through. So it means if you do really start to struggle with communication, you can put that into people's faces and show them what you're up to. But also what you will find is that hitchhiking on the continent is a much more normal concept. People are very receptive, very much understand the thumbs up thing. I remember once when I was in Germany, a woman offered to pick us up, and she started gesturing for money, and I was like, well, we shall not pay. But she picked us up anyway. But you'll find that, communicating with hitching generally, and the truckers will understand it, you'll be absolutely fine. The last thing I will say is that also the language barrier may make you feel a little bit scared and uncomfortable at certain times, and this is the point where we really do want to re-emphasise that if you do get into a situation that you're not comfortable with, or anyone in your team is not comfortable with, please do get out of it, okay? You're responsible for yourself, and we really, do want you to enjoy the experience, okay? And if you get out of a lift, I'm sure another one will come shortly. Best way to do this without causing problems is if you're in a car, pretend you're going to be sick. The person will definitely pull over, and you'll be out of a situation that you don't want to be in.
Hi, I'm Rob Hughes. I'm the Bummit chair this year. That was a video of Nick and Jamie. I'm now going to introduce you to the rest of the committee. Yeah. Go to